What if the veil between this world and the next is not a distant mystery, but a dimension accessible within your own consciousness? Journey with Ibn Arabi as we explore the Barzakh, the liminal realm where quantum possibilities meet spiritual reality. Beloved seekers of truth, know that the world you perceive is but a reflection of the unseen. Between the realm of the visible and the invisible lies the Barzakh, a dimension that is neither entirely of this world nor wholly of the next. It is the portal, the threshold, the subtle bridge that connects the finite to the infinite. In this liminal space, the soul encounters the multiplicity of realities. It is here that the hidden truths of existence unfold, not through the instruments of the intellect alone, but through the unveiling of the heart. Just as a quantum portal allows particles to traverse dimensions beyond ordinary perception, though Barzakh allows the consciousness to glimpse realities that the senses cannot touch. Do not seek it outwardly in distant lands or in material marvels, for the Barzakh is within. It manifests in moments of awakening, in the silent recognition that all forms are but shadows of the One. Every encounter, every dream, every whisper of intuition carries the signature of this threshold. The seeker who treads this path learns to dissolve the boundaries between self and cosmos, between existence and non-existence, between time and timelessness. Remember, the Barzakh is not a place, but a state of convergence of the seen and the unseen, the known and the unknowable. Those who penetrate this dimension do not merely observe reality, they participate in its unfolding. They recognize the sacred geometry in the flow of existence and understand that every quantum leap of the soul is a reflection of the divine's infinite creativity. Therefore, open the inner eye, attune the heart, and let the Barzakh guide you. Let it show that the universe is not outside you but within you, that every portal is a doorway to deeper understanding, and that the journey through the Barzakh is, in truth, the journey toward the unveiling of your own eternal self. The Barzakh, as Ibn Arabi unveils, is a subtle realm that exists not merely as a location, but as a profound state of being, a threshold suspended between the apparent reality of the physical world and the unseen depths of the spiritual universe. It is neither entirely of this world nor completely of the next, but a dimension that transcends the dichotomy of existence and non-existence. A liminal space where the soul may perceive the multiplicity of creation beyond ordinary understanding. In the Barzakh, the soul discovers that what is visible is only a shadow of deeper truths, that every form, sound, and movement in the universe carries within a hidden resonance that points to a reality that is more than material, more than temporal, and yet intimately connected to the human consciousness. This intermediary realm functions like a bridge, a conduit through which the divine presence flows, allowing the seeker to encounter not merely external signs, but internal revelations that illuminate the nature of being itself. Just as in the modern conception of quantum portals, where particles traverse dimensions inaccessible to ordinary perception, the Barzakh allows the human spirit to traverse states of awareness that are usually hidden behind the veil of sensory experience and rational thought. Those who approach this realm with an awakened heart find that the boundaries that separate the self from the cosmos, time from eternity, and matter from spirit begin to dissolve, revealing a seamless continuum in which all existence is interwoven. The Barzakh is not governed by the linearity of worldly time, nor constrained by spatial limitations, for it is a realm where the essence of things is perceived directly, where the multiplicity of forms converges into the unity of their underlying source, and where the seeker may witness the infinite reflected in the finite. Within this dimension, experiences are not measured by quantity or duration, but by depth and clarity of perception, by the capacity of the soul to recognize the signs of the divine presence embedded in every moment, thought, and emotion. It is in this recognition that the Barzakh becomes a living portal, a passage through which the consciousness may glimpse the higher realities that inform and sustain the manifest world. The Barzakh is also a space of reflection and transformation, for the soul encounters not only external mysteries, at the hidden layers of its own being, discovering patterns, affinities, and dissonances that reveal the trajectory of its spiritual evolution. Every dream, every intuitive insight, every moment of profound stillness is an invitation to traverse this subtle realm, to explore the harmonies and correspondences that connect the human spirit with the cosmic order. As Ibn Arabi teaches, the Barzakh is not a distant location to be reached by physical travel, nor a reward to be earned by external ritual alone, but a reality that manifests within the consciousness itself when the heart is prepared to perceive the hidden and to surrender the attachment to the superficial forms of existence. The essence of this dimension is relational, dynamic, and responsive. It adapts to the openness of the seeker and reveals itself according to the depth of understanding and sincerity of intention. In the Barzakh, one sees that every particle, every sound, every light is a sign, a mirror reflecting the divine creativity and the infinite possibilities embedded within creation. The presence of the Barzakh is felt in the subtle stirrings of the soul, in the intuitive knowing that precedes rational understanding, in the glimpses of unity that pierce through the multiplicity of appearances, and in the recognition that existence itself is a continuum of thresholds, of portals, each leading to deeper layers of consciousness. The seekers who journey through this realm learn to navigate the subtle currents of spiritual realities, discerning the signs of guidance and the pathways of insight that connect the human experience to the eternal flow of divine presence, and they begin to perceive that the Barzakh is not merely a veil, but a doorway, not merely an intermediary, but a living expression of the union between the manifest and the hidden, the temporal and the eternal, the finite and the infinite, offering a vision of reality in which all dimensions coexist and interact in the infinite harmony of creation's journey to the Barzakh begins not with outward exploration, but with turning the gaze inward, for the realm of thresholds is accessed through the subtle perception of the heart rather than the instruments of the intellect. Ibn Arabi emphasizes that the heart, which perceives beyond the limitations of sensory data, is the doorway to spiritual awakening, and it is through its refinement and attentiveness that the hidden realities of existence reveal themselves. This inner perception is cultivated through meditation, contemplation, and sincere reflection, in which the seeker learns to distinguish between the transient illusions of the outer world and the eternal truths that lie beneath. In these moments of heightened awareness, the soul becomes sensitive to the layers of meaning encoded in everyday life, noticing how the patterns of events, coincidences, and inner stirrings serve as mirrors of deeper dimensions. Spiritual awakening, in this sense, is the recognition that the universe itself is a living text, and every experience, whether mundane or extraordinary, carries within it a subtle revelation waiting to be perceived. The Barzakh, as a liminal space, responds to the readiness of the heart, manifesting its presence when the seeker cultivates sincerity, humility, and attentiveness. For it is not the accumulation of knowledge, but the purity of perception that allows access to this dimension. Ibn Arabi teaches that inner awakening transforms the consciousness, opening it to perceive not only the multiplicity of forms, but also the unity that underlies them, enabling a direct experience of the interconnectedness of all existence. The process of awakening involves the dissolution of ego-centered perspectives, for the self, when bound by attachment and desire, cannot enter the subtleties of this intermediary realm. It is only through surrender and receptivity that the consciousness may align with the flow of spiritual realities. In this awakened state, the seeker begins to experience the Barzakh as a living presence within, encountering visions, intuitions, and symbolic encounters that guide the understanding of both the inner and outer worlds. Dreams, intuitions, and moments of inspiration are no longer random, but are recognized as signs of correspondence, as reflections of higher truths that intersect with human perception in the liminal space between worlds. The spiritual awakening also involves the cultivation of discernment, for the Barzakh reveals layers of reality that may be misinterpreted by an untrained consciousness. and the heart must learn to navigate these subtleties with clarity, patience, and attentiveness. Ibn Arabi emphasizes that the inner perception awakened in the Barzakh is dynamic and responsive, a dialogue between the soul and the greater realities of existence, in which insight and guidance are constantly offered according to the preparedness of the seeker. In this dimension, time is experienced differently, for the inner awareness of the soul is not constrained by linear progression. Moments of realization and insight may transcend ordinary chronology, revealing the simultaneous presence of multiple layers of truth. The awakened heart perceives the correspondences between inner states and outer phenomena, understanding that the Barzakh operates as a bridge linking the subtle currents of consciousness with the physical world, allowing the seeker to navigate life with a sense of alignment, purpose, and receptivity to divine guidance. Each encounter, each intuitive nudge, each profound moment of reflection becomes an opportunity to explore the liminal space, to witness the interplay between the manifest and the hidden, and to cultivate a deeper attunement to the eternal realities that inform human experience. The awakening also fosters a profound sense of responsibility, for perceiving the Barzakh implies recognition of the sacredness inherent in all forms of existence and the understanding that the soul participates in the ongoing unfolding of divine creativity. Through this cultivation of inner perception, the seeker learns to balance the awareness of the visible and invisible, the material and the spiritual, recognizing that the journey through the Barzakh is both an inward exploration and an engagement with the broader currents of reality, a process in which the boundaries between self and cosmos, observer and observed, begin to dissolve, allowing the consciousness to experience the unity that underlies multiplicity, the eternal that permeates temporal forms, and the divine presence that manifests in every aspect of creation, guiding the soul toward deeper understanding, alignment, and awakening. In the vision of Ibn Arabi, the Barzakh is not merely a static threshold, but a dynamic portal that resonates with the idea of multiple dimensions coexisting beyond ordinary perception, a concept that parallels the modern understanding of quantum portals, where particles and possibilities traverse layers of reality invisible to the senses. The seeker who enters this subtle realm begins to perceive that reality is not linear or singular, but the complex web of interwoven existences, where each moment contains countless potentialities, and every experience reflects a multitude of layers simultaneously. The Barzakh functions as an intermediary space where the soul can witness these layers, experiencing the convergence of what appears distinct in the physical world into a coherent understanding of our unified essence. And in this convergence, the consciousness recognizes that multiplicity does not imply separation, but the infinite expressions of a singular source. In this multidimensional awareness, the boundaries between time, space, and self dissolve, for the soul perceives the eternal presence that underlies all phenomena, understanding that the unfolding of events is a manifestation of deeper principles that operate beyond ordinary causality. Just as quantum portals suggest the movement between parallel realities, the Barzakh allows the spiritual consciousness to navigate realms where possibilities intersect, where visions, dreams, and intuitions reveal layers of meaning otherwise inaccessible to the unawakened mind, and where the interconnectedness of all existence becomes evident in the subtle harmonies of being. Ibn Arabi teaches that this perception requires a refinement of the heart and an attunement to the rhythms of the unseen. For the portals of the Barzakh respond not to intellectual curiosity alone, but to the readiness of the soul to engage with realities beyond the surface of phenomena. In this state, the seeker perceives that every encounter, every reflection, and every insight is a doorway to understanding multiple layers of existence, and that the act of witnessing these dimensions is itself a participatory engagement with the cosmos, a recognition that consciousness is not merely an observer, but an active participant in the unfolding of reality. The multidimensionality of the Barzakh also reveals that the apparent contradictions and paradoxes of life are reconciled at deeper levels of awareness. where the unity of all expressions is perceived as the harmonious interplay of infinite possibilities, and where the limitations of dualistic thinking dissolve into the fluidity of spiritual understanding. As the soul moves through this liminal space, it begins to see that each phenomenon, no matter how small or transient, reflects patterns that span multiple realities, and that the interconnections between inner and outer worlds are intricate and precise, like a cosmic lattice in which the flow of consciousness and creation are inseparably intertwined. The Barzakh, therefore, is a portal not only of perception, but of transformation, for encountering the multiplicity of realities expands the scope of understanding, deepens empathy, and cultivates a consciousness capable of embracing complexity without losing sight of the unity that underlies it. In this vision, the quantum-like nature of spiritual experience becomes evident, where every insight is simultaneously a revelation of what is manifest and what is hidden, and every intuitive knowing carries echoes of infinite potentialities, reflecting the creative essence of the divine in every dimension. The seekers who traverse this realm learn to move with subtlety, patience, hand awareness, navigating the intricate interplay of visible and invisible, temporal and eternal, physical and metaphysical, and in doing so, they begin to perceive that reality is not limited to the surface of appearances, but is a vast multidimensional tapestry, continuously unfolding, continuously revealing, and continuously inviting the soul to engage with the infinite patterns of creation, where the portals of Barzakh serve as gateways to deeper understanding, where the boundaries of perception expand, and where the consciousness realizes that every quantum leap of insight is a reflection of the divine presence permeating all layers of existence. Each journey through the Barzakh is not merely an exploration of hidden realms, but a profound process of transformation in which the soul gradually realizes its connection to the totality of existence and perceives the underlying unity that informs all phenomena. Ibn Arabi teaches that the seeker, by navigating the subtle dimensions of the Barzakh, begins to witness the patterns of creation reflected in both the outer world and the inner self, recognizing that every encounter, every emotion, and every thought carries within it the imprint of the divine presence. This transformative journey is both inward and outward, as the soul learns to dissolve the rigid boundaries of ego and to participate consciously in the unfolding of reality, understanding that the apparent multiplicity of forms conceals a single, continuous essence that unites all things. As the consciousness attunes to this dimension, it perceives that the Barzakh is not a distant place, but a living space within the heart, where the subtle currents of divine wisdom flow and where the seeker is called to align with these currents through reflection, receptivity, and surrender. The transformation involves a deep recalibration of perception, where the soul becomes sensitive to the correspondences between inner states and outer manifestations, seeing the sacred in every detail and recognizing the divine fingerprints in the patterns of existence. And through this vision, the seeker experiences a profound shift in understanding that transcends ordinary knowledge. Each encounter within this liminal space acts as a mirror, revealing aspects of the self previously hidden, and inviting the seeker to integrate these insights into the broader trajectory of spiritual evolution, so that every lesson, every intuitive nudge, every subtle insight contributes to the refinement of the soul and the expansion of consciousness. Ibn Arabi emphasizes that this journey is both gradual and continuous, as the soul learns to navigate the paradoxes of existence, embracing uncertainty while cultivating trust in the divine order, and realizing that the transformative power of the Barzakh lies in its capacity to harmonize opposites, to dissolve illusions, and to reveal the interconnectedness of all experiences. Through the process of transformation, the seeker begins to perceive that time and space are fluid, that the linear narratives of the world are but reflections of deeper, multidimensional realities, and that the soul participates in an ongoing dance of creation, where each step, each insight, Each moment of awareness is an invitation to engage with the infinite layers of existence. The Barzakh also cultivates a profound sense of humility and awe as the seeker encounters realities that surpass ordinary comprehension, recognizing the limits of personal understanding and the necessity of surrendering to the guidance of the heart, which perceives the subtle currents of truth that cannot be apprehended by the intellect alone. This transformative journey fosters compassion and empathy, as the soul comes to see the interconnectedness of all beings, understanding that every act, thought, and intention resonates through the web of existence, influencing not only the individual, but the entire fabric of creation, and that the journey through the Barzakh is both a personal awakening and a participation in the universal unfolding of consciousness. Ibn Arabi teaches that transformation is ultimately a realization that the self is both distinct and inseparable from the totality, that individuality is not lost but illuminated by its connection to the infinite, and that the soul's journey through the Barzakh prepares it to inhabit the world with greater wisdom, clarity, and alignment with the divine presence. The Barzakh, as a dimension of subtle perception, continues to shape the seeker, revealing layers of meaning, insight, and understanding that transform ordinary life into a living reflection of the sacred. And in this ongoing transformation, the soul learns that every threshold crossed, every portal entered, every glimpse of higher reality is an invitation to deeper engagement with the eternal, a realization